birth control is no longer tax-free in China. Authorities imposed a 13% tax on condoms and other contraceptives at the start of 2026. It was the latest move to try and boost the country's birth rate, which in 2025 plunged to a record low.
我觉得这个不是太大，特别是两个人如果都在上班的话，还是要有个老人在旁边好一点。主要是说你要是要养育小朋友，那么要有人。
这个好像没有关系，没有关系。我觉得生不生还是他就是观念上的问题，就是说他觉得。有的呢，就是说我虽然辛苦一点，但是我觉得我要养育我的下一代，他觉得是一个生命的延续。另外就是说，可能是就是说，你出生担心他未来的生活啊什么的。比如说你现在自己可能经济条件也不是特别好的话，但是我如果小孩子生了，我可能不一定能照顾好，那他可能会考虑这方面。
前面，别看前面。
Only 7.9 million babies were born in China in 2025. That's down 17% from the 9.54 million births recorded the previous year. At the same time, the country's population is shrinking and aging rapidly. About 22% of Chinese citizens are aged 60 and above. That is about 310 million people. Nearly as many as the entire population of the United States. Official Chinese government reports predict the country's population will shrink 0.2% per year from 2025 to 2035. The shift is putting immense pressure on economic development and social welfare. And the so-called condom tax is among many measures Chinese authorities are implementing to break away from the nation's legacy of a one-child policy and stem the tide of a demographic crisis. Efforts to boost China's birth rate go back more than a decade. In 2015, authorities relaxed the long-standing one-child policy to allow families to raise 2 children. The number of children allowed was again increased to 3 in 2021. The government also pledged that by 2026, it would fully cover all out-of-pocket costs related to childbirth. Some local authorities are already providing the subsidies. And to address a shortage in the workforce as well as a surge in retirees, the mandatory retirement age for workers was raised in 2024. Even in daily life, there are plenty of signs that authorities are pulling out all the stops to encourage citizens to have more kids. This park was recently renovated. The entrance has a giant heart. And this archway behind me is supposed to paint a long and happy scrolls for newlyweds. Authorities have also made it easier for couples to get married. Since 2025, couples have been able to marry anywhere in China without presenting their household registration papers, commonly known as hukou. Couples now also have a wider choice of venues for their wedding ceremonies, including unconventional places like subway stations. Some local governments are even giving out cash gifts of up to 1,500 yuan to newlyweds. But is any of this working? The latest data shows some success. China recorded a year-on-year increase of 8.5% in marriage registrations over the first 3 quarters of 2025. It could still be some time, however, before we know if that leads to a rise in China's birth rate.
There is a strong cultural legacy of the one-child policy. Beyond restricting fertility, the one-child policy fundamentally reshaped family norms and also people's lifestyles, because many people, especially the one-child generation, they were used to and often prefer smaller family size, especially in urban context. The living costs, the opportunity costs of parenthood, they are much higher than the benefits from the financial incentives. So therefore, structural changes are needed to address the core issue.
The so-called condom tax may be a symbolic end to the era of birth restrictions in China, but observers say more drastic measures are still needed to counter the implications of a shrinking and aging population.